Good morning. This week we begin reading the story of Joseph and his brothers. And it all begins with jealousy and hatred towards their brother Joseph, and Joseph's many dreams that irritate and frustrate the brothers. But tragically, in this week's Torah portion, they throw Joseph into a pit, sell him into slavery, and it's only many years later that the brothers are reunited in 3 Torah portions from now. But I want to point out what the rabbis say is the key words in this week's Torah portion that led to the tragedy of the sale of Joseph. We all know what happened. The brothers were out in the field. Their father Jacob sent Joseph to find his brothers. And then the verse says, they saw Joseph from a distance. Vayiru oto merachok. And they said, look, here comes the dreamer. And before he even approached, they plotted to kill him. They threw him into a pit, took off his coat of many colors, and then ultimately sold him into slavery. Now, rabbis say these 3 words, they saw him from a distance, Vayiru oto merachok, was the key of the tragedy of the sale of Joseph. You see, this doesn't just mean they saw him physically from a distance. It also means spiritually they saw him from a distance. They didn't see him for who he really was. And when you see a person from a distance and you judge them from a distance without really discerning their true nature and character, then you can make terrible misjudgments. And what do we see at the end of the story? When Joseph ultimately reveals himself to his brothers, he says, I am Joseph, your brother. Is our father still alive? And it says the brothers were dumbfounded. They couldn't respond. And he says the following words, Gishu na elai vayugashu. Come closer to me. Come a little closer. And they came closer. And then he said the most powerful words, don't feel bad. Don't feel regret over what you did, because I hold no bad will towards you, because everything that happened was from Hashem. Hashem sent me here to be an ambassador, to be a messenger, to save the country of Egypt from famine. And at that point, think about how the brothers must have felt. This brother who they saw from a distance didn't understand his true nature. Now they saw how righteous he was, that despite their attempts to kill him and the many years of suffering that he went through in Egypt as a slave, nonetheless, he had no ill will towards them. He forgave them. And so our rabbis say, look at the 2 bookends of this story. Tragedy and strife begins when you see people from a distance rather than up close and understand who they really are. And reconciliation and healing comes when you say, like Joseph said, come a little closer, see me for who I am, as your brother in love. It's a story told about one of the great Rabbi Soloveitchiks back in Russia who was traveling on a cold winter night. And he needed a place to stay, and he saw an inn, and he went into the inn. And he asked the innkeeper for a room, and the innkeeper said, sorry, I don't have any rooms available. He said, please, it's a cold night. I can't go back on the road. I have nowhere to go. Sorry. The man was rude to him. Finally, he pleaded with the innkeeper. The innkeeper said, well, if you want, you could sleep on the floor next to the fireplace in the lobby. And that's what the rabbi did. He lay down on the hard floor, tried to get some rest and some warmth. The next morning, when the other guests in the inn came downstairs, they saw the great Rabbi Soloveitchik. They started to huddle around him to say Shalom Aleichem, to shake his hand, to get a blessing, to get words of Torah from him. The innkeeper looks and he says to someone, what's all the commotion? Who is that? They said, he's the great Torah scholar and saint and tzaddik, Rabbi Soloveitchik. The innkeeper felt horrible the way he treated him. So he went over to the rabbi and he started to plead. He said, please forgive me for the way I treated you last night. And the rabbi said, I'm sorry, but I can't forgive you. He said, what do you mean you can't forgive me? I'm truly remorseful. I'm regretful. I'm apologizing. Doesn't the Torah say that people could do teshuvah and that you have to forgive them? The rabbi looked at this innkeeper and he said, you don't understand. He said, last night you offended, insulted, and treated poorly a simple, poor Jew traveling through your inn. He said, today you're coming to ask for forgiveness from the revered, scholarly, saintly Rabbi Soloveitchik. He said, you need to go find that simple Jew who came to you on a cold night for a place to sleep, and you have to ask him for forgiveness. And the message obviously is that you never know who someone really is. Someone could be sitting right next to you, but you see them from a distance. If you want to understand people and not misjudge them, you need to do what Joseph said. Come a little closer. Get to know the person. Understand where they're coming from. Understand their circumstances in life, who they really are. And then you will not judge them negatively, but rather see the good in them. Because every person indeed has so much good inside of them. Have a wonderful day.